The last words. Elizabeth had always believed in love. She believed in promises whispered late at night, in the gentle weight of hands held, in the unspoken bond that lasts decades. But all that faith crumbled the day Daniel spoke the words she would never forget. When you stopped being useful, the years were over. He didn't yell, he didn't plead, he just said it, cold as winter, and walked out of her life forever. For a moment, Elizabeth thought she had misheard him, but the silence of their empty home confirmed the truth. The life she had known, the marriage she had invested herself in, was over. Not because of fights or betrayal, but because she was no longer useful to him. Days turned into weeks, and the wound in her heart was soon mirrored in her body. One morning, she woke up to a darkness that no words could describe. Her vision, once sharp and vivid, was gone. Completely. Doctors were puzzled. "It's deliberate," one whispered to another. "Optic nerve trauma?" Irreversible. Elizabeth's mind refused to accept it. How could life take everything in one cruel stroke? How could the man she loved not just leave, but take her ability to see with him? At first, she sank into despair. Her apartment became a prison, each room a maze of uncertainty. Sounds were overwhelming, textures frightening. Every day was a struggle to simply exist. Yet, in that darkness, a faint light began to emerge. Not in the world around her, but within. She began to notice the rhythm of her own heartbeat, the vibration of footsteps, the whisper of wind through the trees outside. Life existed beyond sight, she realized. And maybe, just maybe, she could learn to see it in a new way. The humiliations escalated slowly. Mary was discouraged from leaving her room, from speaking during meals, from being seen by guests. She wouldn't understand your world, Michelle said. Mary believed she was protecting her son. So she endured. The night of the dinner arrived. Guests filled the house with laughter and perfume. Mary was hungry, thirsty. When she tried to go downstairs, Michelle stopped her. "You'll stay here," she said coldly. "It's for your own good." The door closed. The lock turned. Mary sat on the bed, shaking. She prayed. Jason could not sleep that night. Something gnawed at him, a feeling he couldn't explain. He went to the security room, and he saw everything. The shoves, the insults, the locked door, the way his mother shrank. Jason collapsed into the chair. His success suddenly tasted like ash. The next morning, Jason did not go to work. He brought Mary breakfast himself. She looked shocked. "Mom," he said gently, "why didn't you tell me?" Mary looked down. "I didn't want to hurt you." Jason closed his eyes. Michelle entered, smiling. "Babe, leave," Jason said quietly. Michelle laughed nervously. "This is ridiculous." "Leave," he repeated. She didn't. Jason stood. "You're done," Michelle protested, accused, cried. Jason played the footage. Silence followed. Michelle packed her things by noon. Jason sold the mansion. He bought a smaller home, filled with light and air. Mary had a room with windows, plants, warmth. Jason sat with her every morning. "I should have seen," he said. Mary smiled faintly. "You see now." That was enough. Mary lived 3 more peaceful years. She died warm, loved, respected. At her funeral, Jason spoke. "My mother built everything I am. Let this be a warning. If you dishonor sacrifice, success means nothing." Some stories hurt, but they must be told, because silence protects cruelty, and gratitude can still save souls. Jason did not sleep that night. The mansion was silent, but inside his chest, something was roaring. Every word Michelle had spoken to his mother replayed in his head, sharper each time. The forced smiles, the house rules, the way Mary kept apologizing for existing. At 2:17 a.m., Jason stood up from his bed. He didn't know why his feet carried him upstairs, past the guest rooms, past the art walls and glass railings, all the way to the 3rd floor. He had installed the security room himself years ago, back when success still felt fragile, and he trusted no one. He hadn't checked it in months. The screen lit up the dark room in pale blue light. Jason sat down, and then he saw her, his mother, standing barefoot on marble floors, holding a cardboard box like it was a shield. Jason's breathing slowed. The footage rolled. Michelle's voice came through the speakers, calm and sharp. "Shoes off, you'll damage the floor." Jason leaned forward. The next clip, the kitchen, steam. His mother crying quietly, her hand red and shaking. Michelle's voice rising, accusing. Jason watched Michelle step between his mother and the counter, pushing her aside with irritation. Jason froze the frame, zoomed in. His mother's face, fear, shame, confusion. Jason's hands clenched. Another clip. Michelle in Mary's room, holding the gray clothes. "Put this on. You'll look civilized." Mary nodded like a child being scolded. Jason swallowed hard. Then came the final video. Friday night. The hallway. Mary trying to go downstairs. Michelle blocking her path. "You'll stay here. It's for your own good." The door closed. The lock turned. Jason stood up so fast his chair hit the wall. He covered his mouth. For the first time in years, the successful man with million-dollar deals and iron discipline broke down. He cried like a boy who had failed the only promise that ever mattered. Morning came, but Jason did not go to work. He went to the kitchen himself. He cooked eggs badly, burned the toast, poured orange juice into a chipped mug he found hidden at the back of a cabinet. Then he walked to his mother's room. He knocked. No answer. Jason opened the door gently. Mary was sitting on the bed, fully dressed in her gray clothes, hands folded, waiting. She always waited. For permission, for instruction, for peace. Mom, Jason said softly. Mary looked up, startled. Son? Is something wrong? Jason set the tray down. I brought you breakfast. Mary stared at it like it was something unreal. You didn't have to. I did, he said quietly. Mary reached for the mug with trembling hands. Jason noticed the bruises then. Faint, yellowed, on her arm. His jaw tightened. Mom, he said, sitting beside her. Why didn't you tell me? Mary lowered her eyes. I didn't want to be a problem. Jason closed his eyes. You were never the problem, he said. You were my foundation. Mary's lips trembled.
What remains after justice? After the house was sold and the silence was gone, life slowed. Jason did not replace the mansion with something equally grand. He chose a modest home with wide windows, warm wood floors, and a small garden that caught the afternoon sun, the kind of place that felt lived in rather than displayed. For Mary, it was the first home that truly felt like safety. She woke each morning to light instead of artificial glow. She learned the sound of birds again. She sat by the window with her Bible and watched the day begin, something she had never been allowed to do in the mansion. Jason adjusted his life around her. He canceled unnecessary meetings. He stopped chasing deals that required constant travel. For the first time in decades, he ate dinner at home. They drank coffee together every morning. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they didn't. But the silence was no longer heavy. It was gentle. Mary's health did not magically return, but it stabilized. The constant coughing softened. Her hands still shook, but they rested more often now. Jason noticed the way she moved slower, carefully, as if afraid to take up space. One morning, he asked her, "Why didn't you ever tell me how bad it was?" Mary smiled faintly. "You were carrying too much already," she said. "A mother's job is to carry pain so her child doesn't have to." That sentence stayed with Jason for the rest of his life. Word spread quietly through Jason's professional circle, not about Michelle, about Mary. Colleagues noticed changes. Jason was calmer, more direct, less impressed by status. He stopped tolerating disrespect in any form. When someone spoke dismissively about service workers or older people, Jason corrected them, publicly. Once, during a business dinner, a partner laughed about his mother being too traditional. Jason stood up. "Without her traditions," he said evenly, "none of us would be sitting at this table." The room fell silent. The contract was still signed. Respect followed. Mary spent her days simply. She cooked small meals, watered plants, folded Jason's laundry even when he insisted she didn't have to. "I like feeling useful," she said. Jason never stopped her, but he stayed nearby. One afternoon, Jason found her sitting in the garden, holding her old shawl. "I thought you got rid of that," he said gently. Mary shook her head. "I hid it," she admitted. "I didn't want it taken again." Jason sat beside her. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you sooner." Mary touched his hand. "You did protect me," she said. "In the end. That matters." As time passed, Mary grew quieter, not sad, tired. Jason noticed she slept more, ate less, coughed more at night. He stayed home more often. One evening, as the sun set orange behind the trees, Mary called him to her room. "Sit with me," she said. Jason obeyed immediately. "You did good," she said, her voice thin but steady. Jason swallowed. "You still owe me years," he said. Mary smiled. "No," she whispered. "I gave them already. Now I rest." That night she slept peacefully. She did not wake up. Mary's funeral was small, no luxury, no display, just people whose lives she had quietly touched. Jason spoke only once. "My mother believed dignity mattered more than comfort," he said, "and kindness more than success. If you remember nothing else today, remember this. How you treat the weakest person in your life reveals who you are." After that, Jason stepped back. He funded scholarships for children from towns like Mary's. He supported shelters quietly, without names on walls. He never remarried. He kept her room exactly as it was. Years later, when asked about his greatest achievement, Jason did not mention his career. He said, "I learned how to see." Some people think justice is loud, but sometimes justice is simply restoring dignity before time runs out. And if this story reached your heart, remember, gratitude delayed is still gratitude, but gratitude denied leaves scars. Final outro, voiceover. If this story moved you, leave a comment and subscribe, because respect should never come too late. And the people who carried us deserve to be seen,